Man, I remember it like it was yesterday. You know, I'm sitting on the couch. This was around Thanksgiving, I believe, or one of those holidays, where all of the family gets together. And I'm sitting in the living room waiting on the phone, waiting on the food to be ready. And my uncle is sitting in there. Now, my uncle is 75 years old. At this time he was 74. He's 70, no. When was this? He's 75 now. Um no, this was last year. So he was 74 at that time, right? So my uncle was sitting there, he looks unhappy. I'm sitting there, and I'm always the guy. I'm the jokester in the family, right? So I'm always making jokes. Hey, Unc, what's up, Unc? What's going on with you, Unc? How you doing, man? How you living? Give me some wisdom. Give me some game. What a mistake. What a mistake. I told him to give me some wisdom, give me some game. Now I'm thinking he's going to tell me something that would help me. I'm thinking he's going to tell me something that would help me take my life to another level. He looks at me and he says, "You know what, nephew?" He said, "Man, I've been struggling my whole life." He said, "I've been struggling my whole life. Now I'm locked in, right? I'm locked in because I want to figure out. I'm thinking like, okay, if you struggled your whole life, I'm about to listen because whatever you did, I'm going to make sure I don't do it. Because I'm not struggling right now. And I'm not ever trying to go back to struggling. But so he says, right, he struggled all his life. He was saying that he never got to drive the car that he wanted to drive. He always had to drive the car that he could afford at the time. He never got the chance to, actually find the actual beautiful bride that he wanted. He was married like 5 times and divorced all of the women, probably because of the way he thought. You think, right? He said that he's never traveled anywhere. He had never traveled outside of his state and his city. You know, he talked about how he couldn't afford to go shopping. He couldn't afford to go shopping, so he had a set of clothes that, every now and then he only gets new clothes when he either grows out of his clothes or, or they get too big or they get too small or he can't find something, but he never purchases anything. He never goes out to dinner. He just doesn't do it, right? Now, here's the thing that capped everything off. My uncle worked at Walmart, 75 years old, working at Walmart. Now, I'm not here to bash anybody that works at Walmart. I'm not here to bash anybody. But there's something wrong with a 75-year-old man having to work at Walmart. Only thing you can do when you're 75 years old is, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? That's all you can do. But being 75, but here's the thing that caught my attention. Here's the thing that caught my attention. He looked at me with a serious face. And he said, man, honestly, man, I don't understand why Christians have to struggle.
I want to show you how I made $2,200 while I was on this ATV in Mexico a few days ago. Tap the school link in the bio, and I'll see you there.
I don't understand why God doesn't bless me to be able to live better. I don't understand why I've had to struggle my whole life and, things will never get better for me. Now I'm sitting back and I'm listening and everything is starting to make sense. I'm starting to understand 100% why he never drove the car that he wanted to drive. He never traveled. He never, got to another level. He's 75 working at Walmart. He's unhappy as hell with his life. It's the way that he speaks and talks and thinks about his life. Now, I'm one of those type of people that feel like, look, I don't care if you're 175. If you're still living and breathing, you have a chance to change your situation. I don't care what nobody else say. You know, you have a chance to change your situation. I know a person right now that's 69 right now selling digital products online and they're killing it. If your mind tells you that it's not possible, then you're right. If your mind tells you that you can't do it, then you're right. If your mind tells you that everything that you tried has not worked and nothing will ever work for you, then you're right. Back to my uncle. I was able to see clearly why he was living that lifestyle. It was how he thought and how he talked. Here's what most people don't understand. It's a cycle. First of all, my uncle was programmed. I did some research. My uncle was programmed. You see, his father was a hardworking man, but his father also talked like that. So as a kid, ouch, I hit my damn funny bone. God, I can't even fake it. I was going to fake it and not act like I did it, but damn, that hurt. You know how when you hit your funny bone and it makes your hand feel like that? Maybe that's just me. Anyway, so my uncle heard his father talking like that as a little boy. So here's my message, right? One of my messages. You have to be careful what you're saying around your kids. If you're walking around your kids talking about how broke you are, how money doesn't grow on trees, how you can't afford stuff, how you're tired of working, how everything is a scam and nothing works, and how they have to work hard to get money and how it's hard to get money, you are messing your kid's life up. And you don't even know it. And you're not doing it on purpose. You're doing what was done to you. Your parents talk like that around you, and you never did anything about it. So you thought it was normal to talk like that. Just like my uncle. He thought it was normal. I heard that crap too. I heard the same things, but I changed my situation. Because I looked at that situation and I was like, you know what? I am going to make sure that every time I even feel like I'm getting ready to think something negative, that I stop and eliminate that, because I'm looking at what happens if you don't change your situation. 75 working at Walmart, I guarantee he's not even making $20 an hour. 75 working at Walmart, and that's how you're thinking, he's going to unfortunately die broke. Unfortunately, he's going to die broke. And you have to think about it. It was traced back to his childhood. He never learned throughout his whole 75 years of living that he had the power in his hands. I'm not saying God doesn't have power. God has all the power. But here's the thing. God gives us the same power that he has, and he also gives us the ability to make a choice. You see, it's not God coming out of the sky when you're in front of an opportunity and you say, that's a scam. That's not God telling you that. That's you telling you that. God will never come out of where, and tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, you're broke. I want you to struggle. Stay broke. That's you doing that. That's you doing that to yourself. And all I'm trying to show you is exactly what happens to someone that lives their whole life and never changes it. So here's the point of this video, man. You have a choice, man. You have a choice. If you're telling yourself that you're broke right now, if you're telling yourself that things don't work for you, if you're telling yourself that it's impossible, you're right. There's a mechanism in your brain called the reticular activating system. And you know what it is? It literally proves that every way that you think is 100% correct. If you walk around talking about how broke you are, you're only going to see broke things. If you walk around and talk about there's no opportunities out here, you're only going to experience no opportunities. You literally, your reality is based on how you think and how you feel and how you talk. That's what your reality, how you're living, that's what it's based on. And until you change that, it's never going to change. And here's the thing. Some people are so programmed that you can't help them. You can't help them. Why do you think it's so many grown people walking around talking about what's a scam or what doesn't work? You see 20,000 people making $1,000 a day and all 20,000 of those people are lying? Come on, man. It doesn't make sense. What it is most people have a pity party and they want to invite everybody that can come along with them because nobody wants to suffer by themselves, even though they created it by themselves. I refuse, man. I refuse. So, hey, that's my story. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.